Hello everybody and welcome to another video for my How Did I Kill It series. In this one, I killed the bottom and I killed these stones. We're mostly going to be focusing on realistically how these stones died rather than these ones because these ones kind of they died in a very easy and natural way. And all of this actually started from my opponent playing the crosscut joseki in the wrong way. Very complicated joseki. Basically, the joseki kind of starts like this. Um, and what happens is white will play the crosscut, and we kind of get into this pinwheel shape into the corner. And what normally happens is the is white will actually normally play something like this, um, or like this, but he does neither of those. He does this one. And what ends up happening is he leaves this cutting point behind here, which is very hard for white. And so he plays this jump here, which feels pretty natural. But now I have a chance to play this move. And he gets into this issue where I now make life, but now he has three groups here. He has one group here, he has one group here, and he has another group here. And personally, I have a very light stone here. I've got a live group here, which means that I don't have to worry about this group. And then I've got another two stones here, which are cutting stones, so they're decently heavy. In arguably, this stone, because it's a cutting stone, is also important. But at this point, it's hard for white to decide how they should play because naturally you would want to remove maybe one of those weaknesses. So maybe you want to play here, but then you run into the issue where you're kind of getting pressed on the bottom of the board, and I'm not quite sure if this will work for white. I think that it's a very hard and difficult fight for white to play this way. I do think they would live, though. I do think they could live, but it would still be a very tough position for white to accept. So instead, they chose to jump out here, which I thought was a very strange jump because when you play this way, there's a lot of cutting points being left behind, like this. And in case of the future, white, black can set up for something like this here, where it's a different kind of cutting point, or black can even start like this to emphasize the two stones here. So I thought this was a very strange way for white to defend, and I would have expected something more like this. But instead, he jumps up here. And so at this point, I started to realize that, hey, I've got an opportunity on my hand. This is a group, this is a group, this is a group, and then this is almost a whole different group. So we've almost got four weird looking groups here, many cutting points, very splittable. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and push here, basically emphasizing that I can go ahead and play f10. So if he plays here, then we know we can kill it. And so he plays this one first. And I push out here because this is my sente. Though I do have an option to go like this instead, which arguably is probably a lot better. Probably a lot better. I chose just to go here though, because I wanted to kind of emphasize my attack on these three stones, or these four stones here. Because I knew I was going to get the bottom or I was going to get the side. And we can see he's fixing. And this is kind of where I think things really went bad for him. Because now he's creating a whole other group, right? You don't want to just generally give up this Panuki. So most players are going to just extend here. But it's really hard because now I'm going to have this very strong tiger's mouth that I could go back and make. And even if he did play more properly, which might be what people were expecting, something like this, the problem is that if he accepts this, he's still going to die here. And my opponent was trying to be like, hey, I can live everywhere. I don't have to give up anything. And we're like, you can't do that. You have to give up something. And so we play our nice and powerful Tiger's Mouth. And we weren't ready to go ahead and accept this as dead yet. Because if we play here, there's an argument to be made that there's a lot of Aji here. And I wasn't ready to deal with that. So I said, hey, if I play here, this is actually still pretty big. This is a pretty big area of the board. So I definitely think this is acceptable. But then he turns here. And now I should be able to easily come back to B2, and these are now some dead stones. and my opponent does a little thing in the corner. And now this corner was actually a dragon enclosure, so the first two moves were here. And if you've watched my dragon enclosure video, then you know that the corner is actually not that important when it comes to the dragon enclosure. Another thing about these moves that my opponent are playing is he's basically trying to force me to add more moves here and to end in Gote with him living in the corner. And that's not right. You can't do that. So he didn't really have the time to come back down here. As to where I will now have the time to go out and play here. Um, and we he does try something here, but this is very obviously dead. So if he tries to play like this, we end up getting him kind of in this position where he can't connect these stones and he can't play out here, and they end up being captured. But yeah, it was a pretty straightforward death from joseki. Um, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Oh, and by the way, I did start my Patreon finally, and if you are really interested in my Patreon, you can check it out. The link is in the description, and a screen should be popping up about right now, and you should be able to see everybody that's subscribed to my Patreon. And I just want to say thank you to every one of those people. It means a lot to be able to produce content for everybody and do this kind of thing for a living. So, yeah, I will see you all in the next video. Bye.